A while ago I released a video on the original vintage Ecorec delay units made in Italy by Benson from the 1950s through the 1970s. Since I made that video, there has been an important update. Two companies in particular recently introduced their modern take on the original models, following two different, parallel approaches. They both deserve our attention. In this episode we'll focus on the first model, while the next video will be dedicated to the other. In essence, we are about to explore the Benson Ecorec sounds in the 21st century. Several companies have tried to recreate the legendary Ecorec tones, but only one was bold enough to chase the dream of reviving the original analog technology of the Benson magnetic drum echo. In fact, T-Rex Engineering from Denmark proved to have unrivaled determination. They even acquired the rights to the Benson and Ecorec brands and developed a design to reintroduce the original concept into today's market. T-Rex had to navigate a challenging journey of research and work. Their relentless dedication to this ambitious project makes it feel more like a heartfelt homage than just a commercial operation. After 8 years, they finally succeeded. At the 2023 NAMM show, T-Rex presented the new rendition of the Benson Ecorec. The magnetic drum echo was, at last, reintroduced to the market with its original name and operating principle. The long wait earned the title of the most anticipated effects device of the last 10 years. Did T-Rex fully succeed in bringing the original Ecorec technology and tones back to life? We will answer this question with confidence. My dear friend Tani Tiberino was kind enough to lend me an original vintage Benson Ecorec T5E from 1961 that still sounds stunning despite its weathered look. This gives us the chance to hear both the vintage Italian tube unit and the new recreation by T-Rex side by side. We're just about to achieve a deep understanding of the Ecorec. Then we are evaluating whether the new Benson brand maintains the legacy of its original name and lives up to its great reputation. If you love vintage and vintage-inspired guitar gear, subscribe to Bob Stone Review, the channel with cherry sunburst frame. I guarantee that my content is serious and original, always based on documented, first-hand information. If you are not in a hurry, make yourself comfortable. To delve deeper into the topics of the Benson brand and the original vintage Ecorec delay units, please refer to episode BTR number 20, which is linked on the end screen. Here, let's quickly go over a brief rundown. To get started, let's brush up the basics, especially to the benefit of neophytes. What is a tape echo? How does it work? The principle of tape delay is to record the input sound onto a magnetic tape loop and then play it back after a brief time lag of just milliseconds. By combining the original real-time sound with the delayed playback signal, you get an effective emulation of natural echo. A mix control sets the balance between the dry input signal and the playback signal, allowing to adjust the echo effect from subtle to prominent. The length of the delay depends on how long the moving tape travels the distance from the recording head to the playback head. Therefore, this delay time between the original input signal and the playback sound is determined both by the distance between the heads and the motor speed. To get more repetitions during playback, the read head feeds part of the audio signal back to the recording head, which records it again on the tape. The cycling process generates multiple repetitions that smoothly decay over time. An eraser head wipes the tape at the start of each cycle. You control the number of repetitions by adjusting the intensity of the signal sent back to the tape. At minimum levels, you get a single slap-back repeat, while higher settings produce more repeats. When pushed to extreme settings, the feedback control, sometimes labeled repeat or sustain, creates virtually infinite repeats, which is known as self-oscillation. The first known recording of a tape echo sound was released in 1951 by guitarist Les Paul. European avant-garde musician Karlheinz Stockhausen was another pioneer. Widespread popularity arrived in the mid-1950s when Sam Phillips adopted the slapback echo as trademark sound of his Sun Studios in Memphis and produced Elvis Presley's early recordings.
Well, I said flip, flop, and fly. I don't care if I die.
In 1953, Ray Batts invented the Echosonic, a guitar amplifier with a built-in tape echo unit. This revolutionary device finally allowed to bring the tape echo effect out of the recording studios. It was widely employed by Elvis Presley's guitar player Scotty Moore. Italy during those years felt like an entirely different universe from the United States. The world is way more globalized now, but back in the day the consensus was that USA was technologically 10 years ahead of Italy. In this scenario, the engineer and entrepreneur Bonfiglio Bini from Milan was nothing short of a genius. He not only pioneered tape echo technology, but also took it a whole step further. In the late 1940s, Bonfiglio Bini created the Benson brand, a play on his own name. After the influence of some musicians in France, he shifted his focus to the musical instrument market. In 1952, his company produced its first major success, the guitar amplifier Benson Terzo or Third. By 1956, he introduced his personal version of the tape echo, the Ecorec. Rare early prototypes even date back to 1955. They bear the Italian spelling Ecorec without the H. This product would ultimately bring the Benson brand worldwide recognition. The Benson Echo unit was released at least 3 full years before Charlie Watkins created the British-made Wham copycat, and at least 4 years before Mike Battle introduced the Echoplex in the USA. The Ecorec arrived on the market earlier than its competitors, yet it was surprisingly more advanced, both mechanically and technologically. In fact, even if the Benson Ecorec was based on the principle of the tape echo, it is not properly defined as a tape unit. It used a unique proprietary design. The traditional magnetic tape is made of a layer of magnetizable coating spread on a long, thin and narrow strip of plastic film. This means that magnetic tape relies on a fragile and unstable support. In particular, a short section of tape cycling in a continuous loop is even more subject to quick wear and deterioration. The brilliant idea of Bonfiglio Bini was using a stable and durable magnetic flat wire made of a steel alloy in place of weak plastic tape. The magnetic wire was mounted on a rotating aluminum disc or drum. Record and playback heads were arranged around the revolving drum. This drum, or memory disc, proved to be sturdy and far more reliable than a tape loop, so that it even came with a lifetime warranty. Also, the magnetic drum relied on a very stable drive mechanism. This advanced, complex and sophisticated piece of engineering stood out for some quality and consistency of operation. It was regarded worldwide as the Ferrari of eco units. Bini maintained absolute quality control over the entire manufacturing process. In fact, Benson not only designed but also produced in-house all essential components, even down to the metal chassis. When someone suggested that outsourcing might be more profitable and efficient, Bini replied, "Only Benson can produce a Benson product." This old-school uncompromising commitment to quality did not come cheap. In 1962, an Ecorec cost around 250,000 lire, equivalent in today's value to approximately $3,500 or euros. This price was in the same range of a Fender Stratocaster guitar and a Vox AC30 amplifier. Between the mid-1950s and the late 70s, the Ecorec was produced in more than 40 versions, either standalone units or built-in mixers, valve or solid state. By the early 1980s, Benson's technology began to be perceived as obsolete. The brand's popularity progressively declined until the factory eventually closed in 1986. Through the following years, as new analog and digital delay models arrived on the market, awareness began to grow that something had been lost with these new technologies, something that old electromechanical devices were able to deliver with unsurpassed expressivity. This is where T-Rex engineering comes in. They intercepted the demand for a comeback of the old tape echo technology. In 2015, T-Rex unveiled the Replicator, marking their first major challenge, reintroducing a real electromechanical tape delay to the market. T-Rex Engineering was established in 1995 in the town of Vejle, Denmark, by guitarists and engineers Lars Dahl and Sebastian Jensen. Their mission statement aims to improve the sound possibilities of musicians with an eye to smaller underground bands. The company quickly gained recognition for the outstanding quality of their products, including highlights such as the Full Tank series of pedalboard power supplies, renowned for their reliability. At the 2016 NAMM show, T-Rex unveiled a prototype of their Ecorec, but then faced major setbacks due to both technical and administrative problems. With hard work, they rediscovered the lost secrets of the complex, forgotten Benson technology, and at the 2023 NAMM show, they announced their second major success, the reintroduction of the Benson Magnetic Drum Echo. T-Rex fearlessly embraced the Bob Stone Review Ecorec Challenge. They sent me a unit for testing, and we're just about to dive deep into it. At this point, I must confess that I can't wait to plug it in, and I bet you're just curious as I am to see the EcoRec in action. However, we need to hold our horses. T-Rex strongly recommends to perform a simple check first. This essential preparation should not be overlooked. It ensures you get the most out of this sophisticated device. In a movie it was said, you're never really done for as long as you have got a good story to tell. So here's one. When I was 8, my relatives gave me a gift that I had desired for a long time, a microscope. As a child, it appeared to me as an upmarket model. I was over the moon with happiness. Of course, I rushed to the microscope without bothering to read the instructions, which ended up damaging the focusing mechanism. It was a valuable lesson. To this day, before using a new device, I always take at least a leaf through the instructions. I always find something to learn that isn't obvious by intuition. This is especially true for our EcoRec, described by T-Rex as an outstanding piece of precision equipment, and crafted in Denmark to the highest standards of engineering skills and audio quality. In fact, handling the EcoRec, you immediately get the impression of quality craftsmanship. This isn't your plug-and-play stump box typically gathering dust and beer spills on the pedal board during gigs. The manual remarks in bold lettering, "Please treat it with the respect it deserves." To make this easier, the EcoRec comes with a maintenance kit. Naturally, the provided materials are essential and intended more for reference than practical use. I recommend leaving them untouched and sourcing your raw materials instead. All you need is a bottle of isopropyl alcohol, sewing machine oil, which also came with the vintage units, cotton swabs or Q-tips, biodegradable type please, and lens cleaning tissues. Untighten the 4 nullet screws on the top to remove the metal lid. Clean and lubricate the revolving drum and check that the heads are in proper position by gently pushing the holding brackets. To ensure optimal performance, occasionally, especially after regular use, you will have to repeat this simple procedure and also clean the heads with the indicated material. But now our EcoRec is finally ready to rock, or to wreck. Let's delve into its technical details. The vintage T5E had 1 eraser head, 1 recording head, and 4 playback heads, for a total of 6 heads. The playback heads were arranged at progressively varying distances from the recording head. These distances were strategically calculated to create a musical relationship between the repeats. Specifically, playhead 4 is positioned at double the distance or delay time from the record head compared to head 2, which in turn is double the distance from the first playhead. The new Binson Echo faithfully follows this same technical structure and head pattern. In addition, it introduces a second recording head, bringing the total to 7 heads surrounding the magnetic drum. Record head 2 is located 3 times the distance of head 1 and allows for longer delay times. A switch allows to select between the 2 recording heads. Moreover, the T-Rex EchoRec features adjustable drum speed, a modification often applied to vintage Benson units, which originally came with a fixed speed. The central detent position of the speed knob sets the original drum speed, which can be increased or decreased by 20%. The repeats sound brighter at higher drum speeds. This can be compensated with the tone control, which acts like a high-frequency cut and only affects the repeats. As a result, the T-Rex EchoRec has a dual nature. It can be either seen as a philological recreation of the vintage units, or you can take advantage of a few modern tweaks designed to enhance flexibility and expand its sonic possibilities. In particular, while the original EchoRec had a maximum delay time of 300 milliseconds, the T-Rex nearly doubles this limit, despite the smaller diameter of the revolving drum. A distinctive feature of the EchoRec is the articulate multi-tap delay effect, achieved combining together the playback heads. The classic T5E and T7E EchoRec models from the 1960s had a rotary selector switch, allowing 12 preset combinations. Later models, like the PE603 from the early 1970s, featured 4 independent switches, allowing any of the 16 possible combinations of the playheads. The T-Rex Echo adopts this second, more advanced solution. The swell mode adds an effect to the repeats similar to reverb. It was named Halo on early Italian models. This mode engages all 4 playheads, making the repeats more prone to self-oscillation. Interestingly, the T-Rex allows you to individually adjust the level of each playhead. The small screwdriver included in the toolkit is for this. The record level control adjusts the volume of the input signal. Higher settings will drive the recording head into saturation. The vintage EchoRec models used an EM81 valve as a visual reference for the input audio level. The glowing pattern of the cathode rays in this vacuum tube varies with the intensity of the input signal, and it's visible through a round opening in the front panel known as Magic Eye. This system is a precursor of solid-state LED indicators. The Magic Eye is an iconic feature of the EchoRec. Its soft greenish glow evokes a nostalgic feel. To honor our feel, T-Rex has recreated the Magic Eye using modern solid-state technology. This T-Rex EchoRec won me over after just a few notes. It boasts gorgeous tone and beefy repeats. The new Benson delivers tons of sheer analog feel and warmth. You can go anywhere from luscious long echoes to killer slapback effects. I've occasionally seen this effects unit misunderstood or misrepresented in videos and reviews. There's an Italian saying that goes, "You can't have both a full barrel and a drunk wife." This primitive saying corresponds to the English phrase, "You can't have your cake and eat it too." Putting these vivid, idiomatic expressions aside, if you are after the warm and lively sound of a 70-year-old technology, you can't expect the precision and cleanliness of today's standards. Bear in mind that the drive mechanism has inherent imperfection and noise. A website dedicated to the original vintage units even includes an entire chapter discussing the challenges of using an EchoRec in a recording studio. The point is, embracing the charm and fascination of old technology implies accepting its quirks. I might say something unpopular. If you want to record an album with a clean and defined band sound, all you need is a good studio and a skilled sound engineer. On the other hand, creating an album with a raw, dirty band sound that could be appealing for its character and charm is far more challenging. That requires the expertise and vision of a talented producer. I believe the same principle applies to guitar gear. Vintage or vintage-inspired instruments may not sound perfect or pristine, but they are cherished for their unique charm and added expressiveness. Bringing this back to the EchoRec, its slight wobbling sound, background noise, distortion, and unpredictability account to a lively quality that feels more like an instrument than just a sound effect. Let me be more precise. I mentioned earlier that with new technologies, something had been lost in what tape delays used to deliver. Let's define this something. There are three main factors that contribute to create this lively quality or feel of the tape technology. The first factor is the random modulation effects. Inherent imperfection of moving mechanical parts and subtle irregularities in the playback speed cause slight pitch changes of the repeat tone. On the new EchoRec, you can even change deliberately the drum speed during playback to create crazy sound effects. This can be also done with an expression pedal. The second important element is tone variation. Each repeat is recorded on subsequent turns, which cause growing signal deterioration. In particular, the suckling repeats are subject to progressive high-frequency loss. This results in dynamically changing tonality throughout the repeats. The third factor is saturation. recording volume level is easily pushed to overload, generating a crunch effect characterized by warm tone and added harmonic content. The combination of these three factors determines a unique feel of depth and three-dimensional sound. But as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm convinced that an effects unit should be evaluated using two main criteria. The first is how impressive and convincing the effect itself sounds, which we have just discussed. The second is how the circuit impacts on your guitar tone. This second parameter of judgment is another strong point of the EchoRec. The input audio must be strong enough to magnetize the memory disk, so it needs to be routed through a gain stage before reaching the recording heads. This preamp action on the dry signal is an important part of the EchoRec tone and, more in general, of vintage tape echo machines. I read an article where the reviewer complained that the T-Rex does not have true bypass. Again, you can't have your cake and eat it too, or both the full barrel and the drunk wife. An EchoRec in the signal chain donates an extra kick to the sound, which gets discrete boost and compression. As I covered in more detail in episode BTR number 50, to take advantage of this preamp action, many players use to route their signal through a tape echo unit, even with the echo effect disengaged. Let's try this simple test. We'll compare the direct sound with the bypass sound. As you can hear, the EchoRec keeps the original tonal balance unchanged, adding a pleasant light boost. So, putting aside any preconceived notions, I think T-Rex has done a great job here as well. The EchoRec is more than just a guitar pedal. It's a studio-grade device suitable for a wide range of applications. On the rear panel, it features balanced XLR connections. As an outboard effect, it's valued by producers for the warmth and character it brings to digital recordings. Let's hear how it behaves with the glorious voice of Livia, who I'm proud to have as my bandmate. So, this Echo Machine goes far beyond my expectations and gets 5 stars. Is there still room for improvement? Honestly, not much. I could only find a couple of minor observations. The most notable exception is that with certain settings, the swell effect can become a bit too intrusive, easily triggering self-oscillation. The second improvement I would suggest would be the addition of a remote jack for the record head selector, though this might require electronic switching. This would allow to switch during a performance between two basic preset effects, such as a slapback echo and a longer delay. Finally, the cosmetics could have used a few tweaks. However, these are minor upgrades that might have driven up the price without bringing substantial benefits. Maybe T-Rex could consider these and other ideas for a deluxe 70th anniversary edition. With a price approaching 2,000 euros or dollars, the T-Rex Benson EcoRec may be far beyond the budget of many musicians. However, we should consider several factors for a fair estimation of its value for the money. First, the years of research involved in reinventing a forgotten technology must be taken into account. T-Rex essentially had to redesign and manufacture all the main parts from scratch. Additionally, the EcoRec is an electromechanical device of great complexity that, as we've seen, has never been cheap. In their day, the original units were significantly more expensive in comparison. Today, vintage models typically cost at least 2 times as much, with additional expenses for regular maintenance and technical revisions. From this perspective, the price of contemporary units seems absolutely reasonable. Furthermore, they are priced totally in line with other competitors or with other high-end studio equipment. To buy a Benson T-Rex at a good price, use this link, which is also in the description. Even more, buy any of these products or anything else you wish through my Thomann affiliate link. You will support the Bob Stone Review channel at no additional cost. Bottom line, the Benson EcoRec reissue by T-Rex was well worth the long wait. It deserves our praise and lives up to expectations. Its design, craftsmanship, and sounds are a complete success, honoring both continuity and respect for the Benson brand's challenging heritage. Please let me know your thoughts and feedbacks in the comments below. In the next episode, we'll explore another contemporary reincarnation of the EcoRec, one that takes a completely different approach. Subscribe now and click the bell to keep posted. Check out the Bob Stone Review web links.